A massive thank you to Diego, Angelo, Braden, Jao and Ollie for subscribing to the channel. If you want to be featured in these clips, make sure you subscribe down below.
Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video where today we return with round 8 of season 4 of our F1 22 My Team Career mode. Yes, we return to the duel in the Formula 1 crown. It's Monaco Grand Prix time. I'm really looking forward to this one. If you missed out on the video that went live from Spain at the end of last week, yeah, go back, check it out, just so you're a bit updated before we jump into this one. Of course, there will be spoilers in just a moment, but we've got less than 2 weeks left of 2022. We're not quite going to hit 100k, but we are getting closer and closer. At the time of recording this, we're getting very close to 95,000 subscribers, so if you're not already, please do make sure you leave a sub if you're not already down below as well. It would be greatly, greatly appreciated as we head into the new year. But championship-wise then, 5 points between myself and George Russell as we head to the Principality. The Constructors' Championship, though, really heating up behind us. Ferrari and Red Bull jumped Alpine after last weekend after both of their cars failed to make it to the checkered flag there. Charles Leclerc now best of the rest on 75 points, 2 ahead of Esteban Ocon there, but Pourchaire, Perez, Ricciardo and even Lando Norris are all not far behind. So as we head to Monaco this weekend, there is a lot to play for. We need to try and get the jump on George Russell once more there. It's just making sure we've got no components that need changing, but we need to try and finally get a win on the Monaco streets. I'm yet to win this race, actually, on F1 22 in a Formula 1 car. Maybe today can change that. Well, we might have lost our pole streak last weekend out in Spain, but our winning run still continues on from what? COTA, isn't it? COTA last season. We have won every single race since then as a team. I really hope it doesn't come to an end at Monaco, but I don't know why. I'm just getting a small feeling that it might be the case around the Principality. Of course, we'll know in, well, about 30-35 minutes time, most likely, in this video. I really do worry that I'm jinxing myself by saying all this, but of course Friday, just got to try and get settled into the rhythm once more and ramp up the pace ready for the weekend. We're still struggling a bit with front locking at the moment, but apparently also struggling to get the delta where I need it, about half a tenth away on that first lap, as that is not the line through T1. At the final corner up towards the line. Second lap's going to be a whole lot better though, and that is going to be a purple score. That's what we need to start the weekend here. Well, I genuinely reckon EA have listened into these videos and have completely removed the qualifying simulation runs for me. Now we've got a fuel run. See if we can try and get another purple score here. This one often is slightly more difficult than the tyre wear runs, but yeah, nowhere near as ridiculous as those qualifying sims. Out of the final corner then, up towards the line. It's all about just trying to build up delta and then lifting off. Can't quite lift off enough though, that's going to be green. Let's jump into qualifying then, the most important Saturday of an F1 year. Well, as often has been the theme this season, we're going to immediately jump into Q3 for the Monaco Grand Prix, but there is nothing to separate George Russell and myself at the moment. That big slide as we try and start our first lap, but we absolutely need to focus in because pole position is on the table for the second year in a row. Graze the wall through turn 1, but we do get away with it. Well, I've seen purple in Sector 1, I think I've seen purple in Sector 2 as well, but often it does take a few minutes for the competitive lap times to come in qualifying. Here is up towards the start-finish line. It's only going to be a 9.7. That is good enough to go fastest for now, but George and I were both on 9.5s in Q2, and George Russell has just done what he always does and finds that bit more right when it matters. He's not known as Mr. Saturday for nothing. A 109.3 from our teammate. We need 0.4 of a second on our final tour of this 2-mile circuit. It's all over. It's all over. Just tried to push to the absolute limit on this lap. I know I had to go for it. Hoping we don't get jumped by anyone behind us. Actually, it doesn't look like Perez, either of the Red Bulls, are actually out on circuit for whatever reason. So I think it is going to be a front row start here from Monaco. But George Russell has dealt the first blow this weekend. I'll be honest, being called Mr. Monaco when your teammate dunks 4/10 of a second, on you around the circuit is kind of like Daniel Ricciardo with his I run these streets helmet and then getting lapped by Lando Norris last year. Fingers crossed that's not going to happen today, though. Let's get into it, Monaco Grand Prix. But George Russell is just in another world.
Formula One returns to Monte Carlo once again today, home to the world-famous Monte Carlo Casino that first opened in 1863. And of course a certain road race first held in 1929. There's no greater an occasion, no more valuable a win than the Monaco Grand Prix. The prestigious Circuit de Monaco then is not all that dissimilar today to the layout that made its debut almost a century ago. It's 2 miles and 19 corners through the streets of Monte Carlo. And although the average lap speed of around 93 miles per hour is the lowest of the season, the tiny margins for error make it the natural habitat of the safety car. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. What a qualifying yesterday for George Russell. He'll start today's race from pole position. And Mr. Monaco completes the front row. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Ocon, Perez, Théo Pourchaire and Bottas, Leclerc, Norris, Gasly and Daniel Ricciardo, Latifi, Tsunoda, Guan Yu Zhou and Schwartzman, Albon, Magnussen, Oscar Piastri and Felipe Drugovich, Ticktum, Mick Schumacher, Stroll and Jehan Daruvala. With preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track. Anthony Davidson is alongside me, as usual, for today's race. Let's have a chat about Williams. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within that team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do, and that's definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do. Don't let me down.
Here we are then, on the grid, ready for the Monaco Grand Prix. It's the front row for the second time in 2 seasons, but it's not quite where I wanted to be on the front row of the grid today. It's so tempting to go soft. Now, it's not worth doing softs, is it, at the start? Because then we're just going to get overcut, by some faster cars later on there. You just feel a little bit like you want to try something different around the Principality, but, you know, I think at the end of the day, we have still got a Teams Championship we need to focus on as well. It is still early doors this season. Even if we can't beat George today, we're still only, hopefully, going to be a handful of points behind. Right, well, even if we can't try and jump George off the start, we need to make sure we defend from Esteban Ocon behind. So we try and put some heat into the rears. Let's just do the old trick. And that should hopefully give us a bit of a helping hand there. We're going to go very, very defensive, trying to cut off Ocon in towards turn 1. Make sure we lock in a good score rather than risk a perfect one. It is quite far over towards the right-hand side, but waiting, I think it's Jehan Daruvala at the rear of the field. Of course, his first Monaco Grand Prix in a Formula 1 car this weekend. Not quite starting where I'm sure he would have wanted it. Has delivered some okay pace on a couple of weekends this year, but can we try and defend from the cars behind then on the run down towards turn 1, waiting on those 5 red lights. A mighty long hole, but it is finally lights out and away we go. And the answer is no. So we head in towards the first corner. One of the Red Bulls, that's got to be Pourchaire there, has absolutely flung it up the inside. We kind of had to avoid him in the process. Got ahead of Sergio Perez once again there, but that has got to be one of the most audacious attempts down at turn 1 I think I've ever seen. Of course, Théo Pourchaire, happy memories from this circuit just 12 months ago, but as we head down the hill on this opening lap, I don't think I've ever seen the AI. We know they're aggressive on F1 22, but I don't think I've ever seen them that aggressive to try and pull off a move there. But George Russell still leads the way. Esteban Ocon has snuck up into P2 with all of the commotion there, so not a bad start for the young Frenchman in his Alpine. Of course, not quite the home Grand Prix, but not too far away down at Alpine, of course. Maybe, just maybe, they want to try and emulate Olivier Panis all the way back in 1996, of course, the Frenchman winning for a French team around the Monaco Grand Prix. And of course, yeah, I don't think anyone is probably ever going to win that race from, what was it, P14, P16, wasn't it, for Olivier Panis? Absolutely mind-boggling weekend. I've watched that race back, of course. I wasn't born in 1996, but I've watched that race back, and it was just bizarre there. But George Russell leads the way at the start of this Grand Prix, of course, a lot less soggy than that race from 1996. I'm trying to lap around Monaco, and I'm talking about a Formula 1 race from 25 years ago. You don't get that on many other F1 channels. Russell on 11.7 that time round. We only set a 12.1. Can't help but feel already that Ocon might just be holding us back slightly, as Russell is just inching away at the front. This might be the best opportunity we get on Ocon early on in this GP, able to stick very, very close down through Portier to the inside of the Alpine. No, we've jumped it. I have to give him that back. We had to try it, but Mark apparently was quite happy with it, but I'm sure I can see the comments now already from that one. Way too aggressive there. You know, we've got to try and test the limits early on. My whole thought process is if I can keep it between the white lines doing that, then the move's fair, Monaco. If I can't, then we've got to give it up. That's kind of the rules I'm running by, but I'm sure mitigating circumstances that will probably change over the course of today. But if anything, that's just really helped George Russell here at the front. Let's see though if we can try it again on Esteban, as that is not the run up the hill. We definitely take a lot of time out of Esteban in the first half of the lap, beginning to wonder how little downforce that Alpine is running, because we're certainly not making up much down through the tunnel section. Of course, I'm trying to draw comparisons between this and the Haas Road to Glory, and of course we know that Haas car is an absolute missile down the straights. This time around we're not quite going to be as close as we were last time. We need to be about 2/10 back if we want any chance of outbraking him, but unfortunately, all this going on, George Russell is just driving off into the sunset. This time around we've got right around the Alpine, but Ocon, unfazed by it, will compromise his run slightly through the next turn. But are we now going to be able to put the power down where we need to? And again, we're just about half a tenth too far back to really do anything about it. Oh, really having the cadence break that time around, as we're practically pushing him around the Principality. But about 6 of 39, there's still a long way to go, but you can see how hard Ocon's having to push as well. It is just about trying to be close at the right part of the circuit at the moment, as the Frenchman, he knows, of course, modern Formula 1 cars are just so big as well, of course, that it is really difficult to try and make anything happen around this venue, as that's probably the closest we've been at the final corner so far today, as we head back down towards turn 1, try and open up a first turn Sandavot as best as we possibly can. They'll wind our way back up the hill to the highest point on the circuit. You can just see through here, this is really where we're a lot stronger. That might just give us enough. Nope, again, not enough to get fully alongside the Alpine off the corner. And there's just part of me saying at the moment, I reckon if we can get past him, George Russell isn't actually looking that ridiculously fast at the moment. I feel confident in this car this weekend, but we still just cannot do anything. I don't want to spend all 39 laps looking at an Alpine's rear wing. I've got to try and work a way around him, but we've got to be smart as well. Tell you what, it would not surprise me if Monaco was the most hated track on the Formula 1 circuit between F1 drivers. I know a lot of fans really don't like this place, and understandably why. And this might be one of the first ever Grand Prix I'm really having here where I understand the complete frustration of being stuck behind someone right from lap 1. We might get an opportunity to get past Ocon in the pit window, but it's just so annoying being stuck looking at that Alpine logo. We know we're quicker than him. Can we find a way around him though? Of course not. Ocon's just about gone enough right where he needs it. We've just got to wait for one opportunity or one mistake from the Frenchman. Or yeah, like I said, wait to the pit stops and then try and go one over him, jump him when he's on cold tyres. But unfortunately as well, starting on the softs might not have been such a bad thing. There's such a big gap. Whoa! Whoa! Such a big gap between Zhou Guanyu and the cars in front of him that you could have absolutely slotted into that gap Lap 16, team are already now starting to talk about pit stops and just waiting for this Alpine to shift out of the way. There's still part of me that reckons we'll probably get round him just as he comes into box, but of course there's still a little bit of history between myself and Ocon after Miami a few weekends ago. Just get on with it, mate, come on. Just got to keep trying to see if we can force an error out of this Alpine car, but nothing seems to be opening up for us, as again you just try and match him on the throttle. The AI, their built-in traction control just means you can't get close enough at the moment. Just don't think, unless we got the absolute perfect run, that we'd even have enough to get alongside Ocon into the braking zone. I really thought Ocon being slow off that final corner then might mean that he was coming into the box, but it's probably either going to be now or next lap, so we've got to try and make sure we keep the tyres in good nick. So again, grazing up to the wall shows how hard we're trying to really push it, but George Russell already with an 11-second lead, so even if we do get round Ocon, it's still a tall order to try and get back to my teammate in the second half this afternoon. There is, again, another tiny little bit of contact with the Frenchman. I'm really trying to get inside his head at the moment, trying to make this 2-2 Motorsport car as big as we possibly can in his mirrors, but he hasn't been phased up to this point, and I don't think anything's going to change now. That's a good thing to hear. Team don't think we need to worry about tyres just yet, so we can go a couple longer if needed, but Ocon still just sat in the way. You see the Frenchman into the pit lane then. No, again, Ocon opts to stay out for another lap there, so does George Russell, so I reckon they're both going to be boxing the end of this one. Sergio Perez is in behind me. Maybe the Minister of Defence can work something out and get past the pair of us. There we go, George Russell into the pit lane then. Our tyres are not in good shape at the moment, but neither is Esteban Ocon. We've just got to try and hopefully make him only last one lap longer. There comes in the Frenchman finally. Ocon is out of the way and we have got clear running around these city streets. We are going to lead one lap, as Russell has only come out 7 seconds behind me here, but Ocon is still in P3, 20 seconds back. But more importantly, we're watching that gap go up over the course of this lap. I'm using pretty much every last inch of grip we've got left on these tyres. I'm taking risks. We have to get around the Frenchman on this pit stop cycle there, as into the pits will come. Oh, I don't think I've ever pushed that aggressively to try and get into a pit lane there. Full opposite lock through the final couple of corners, drifting our way in to the pits, but if that's not going to be enough, nothing will be today. This has got to be our chance there. George Russell retakes the lead of the Grand Prix. 2.3 second stop, that was quick. A nice quick stop by the team then as we head back out of the pit lane. Just be nice and easy on the tyres on the exit, and look at that, we are now up into P2 of the Monaco Grand Prix there, and we've done it by a good couple of seconds over Esteban Ocon, so that goes and shows the pace that we've got in this car. Now we've got 19 laps to close up a 12-second gap to George Russell and somehow find a way around our teammate. This will really prove whether we have got the pace to win today, because like I said, I felt like we did when Ocon was in the way. We've got slightly fresher rubber than George Russell, but cold tyres of course on the warm-up. We have got to get up to him. I can't help but feel that F122 Monaco, especially over the last couple of games, has really kind of accentuated the flaws in the current Codemasters titles. You know, some of it just completely out of their control with the real world of Formula 1, but there are just a few things that can be rather frustrating around a circuit like this. You know, they're huge, absolutely huge Formula 1 cars. I get it, you know, they're nothing EA of course can do about that. Formula 1 cars, the new regulations have made them really big. Monaco is a snooze fest. That's just the way things are going to go, but it's just things like, of course, on F122, the absolutely zero feeling in low-speed traction zones. You've got no idea what the back end of a car is doing until sort of 4th or 5th gear there, hence why, you know, F1 esports drivers, they're all short-shifting so much on corner exit, but yeah, then just, of course, the AI and their weird little intricacies as well, of course. The fact that you can be applying pressure to them, they can kind of throw themselves half a car length defensive, things like that, but then can of course just instantly gather it back up onto the racing line without any sort of hesitation. You know, there is just those few little tweaks that are a little bit frustrating, but at the moment we absolutely cannot close up to George Russell. We are pulling away, though, from Ocon, or keeping the gap pretty stable. But I feel like this one might be a lonely drive to P2, sadly. I'm happy we got past the Frenchman. He really annoyed me in the first half of this, but it's certainly not going to be... I mean, it's Monaco at the end of the day, but it's not going to be an exciting one, even by F1 22 standards, unless, of course, we get something crazy. You know what? As soon as I've said that about how we're not closing up to George Russell, the fastest lap of the day as we start lap 26. 2/3 down, 1/3 to go this afternoon. 13 seconds in 13 laps is still an absolutely mammoth challenge, but I'm not going to say never just yet. You never know. Well, there is one thing that still could add a little bit of spice to this Monaco Grand Prix, and that is all of those lap cars a bit further up the road there that George Russell is now going to have to start navigating. They should get out of the way for him pretty nicely, but you never know what might happen. Shades of 2011, I want to say, perhaps? Okay, don't quite know how we've managed that, but another new fast lap of the day there, as that is not the line down at turn 1. Gap had briefly dropped down to under 11 seconds to George. 11 laps to go. What worries me is we're taking a fair bit of time at George at the moment, but he's also pretty much going to be ahead of all these lap cars before I get to him, so we're then going to have to try and carve our way through them all, and then still try to apply pressure to him. Even more impressively, though, is the fact we pulled 10 seconds over Esteban Ocon in just a handful of laps. For the Argentina, because we are absolutely smashing the French. And there we go, blue flags for the first time today. Lance Stroll just up the road. We still haven't had to deal with many blue flags on F1 22. We had a couple, I think, all the way back in Bahrain. But since then, of course, car development for most teams has come on pretty well, and of course we can't really make our car any faster at the moment, as that was a horrible line out in the final corner. Now I can start to see why we gained so much time over George Russell, because the dirty air is absolutely horrific off these slower cars. But George has now made it all the way through. How much will this gap go back up by? Alright, making sure you trigger those blue flags in the right parts of the circuit, as Jay and the Ruvela hopefully now will peel off to the left-hand side. Yes, he will. I apologise, that's my right. But we're through another one. Mick Schumacher up next, and already, yeah, the gap to Russell is neutralised. That's not going to do me any favours, though. And any slim hopes we had of getting back to George, they've gone completely now. Even Deruvela has unlapped himself again, so he's going to get blue flags in a matter of seconds. I did have a brief worry for one moment. The safety car might get deployed for that, but all that hard work over the last few laps has now completely gone down the drain, as Deruvela is not even getting blue flags. Why isn't Deruvela getting blue flags then? That's quite weird. Have we broken F1 22? I feel like I might have done. Have to send it on him. There we go. Now, oh, I'm so sorry, J-Am. Now we're getting blue flags. That's certainly a little bug, Cody's. Stroll now on Deruvela as we head up the hill behind us. I might have just caused a bit of a kerfuffle. Oh, we got yellow flags out. Someone just behind us potentially going slowly. No, they seem to have sorted themselves out again. 5 laps to go. I cannot wait for this race to be over, honestly. This has probably been one of my least enjoyable Monaco Grand Prix I've ever done. I guess every cloud's got a silver lining and all that, but at least because of that mistake, I'm probably not going to have to lap any other cars today. I do completely apologise to Jay and Deruvela and Lance Stroll. Kind of ruined any slim hopes they had of maybe recovering something from this afternoon, but I think I picked up front wing damage as well, rather unsurprisingly. Yeah, this thing's getting understeery late on, but we may as well annoy Ocon. He spent most of the race doing it to me. I apologise for being fairly downtrodden on this one, but it is just, yeah, F1 22 and its issues and limitations, like I said, really do bubble to the surface around a track like this, and maybe, hopefully F1 23 we start seeing more things change. Sadly, we're not even going to get to the end without having to try and lap anyone else there. Mick Schumacher now, with just a lap and a half to go, the next car in the way. Still find it quite funny in both career modes I'm doing on F1 22. Mick Schumacher's ended up down at Williams, but he hasn't, of course, done it in real life. But George Russell now round in the final corner to start the last lap of this Monaco Grand Prix there, and it's looking like 2 years in a row we are going to come second here to my teammate. That is not going to help me out much. We are going to be defending from Ocon like crazy into the final lap then of the Monaco Grand Prix. I got to use Mick Schumacher now as a bit of a rear gunner, apparently, and it's probably not ideal to be trying to do a whole lap around this circuit with no front wing, but Mick Schumacher, oh, he's not even going to help me. Mick, why? Oh, we're going to have to really defend from Ocon now. To be honest, the car doesn't actually feel, well, I mean, it obviously feels worse, but it doesn't feel crazy bad at the moment. It's probably, yeah, really not sensible. Don't lose your front wing around the Monaco Grand Prix circuit. And Esteban Ocon, there is absolutely zero chance I'm finishing behind you after everything today. I'm not allowing the Frenchman to work away back past me here. As George Russell heads through to back for the final time, though, he is going to win the one that they all dream about as kids. George Russell is going to take his first ever Monaco Grand Prix victory on F1 22, and with so extends his lead in the Drivers' World Championship. Ocon there still trying to fill up my mirrors, as, oh, that was optimistic, I think, on the brakes there, but we do just about hold on. George Russell is a Monaco Grand Prix winner. It means our team has done it 2 years in a row. It also means, unless I do something in these final few corners, it's going to be back-to-back 1-2s around the Monaco Grand Prix as well. But sadly for me, we have been that number 2 both occasions now around this circuit. It was Teo Porcher last year around in the final corner. It's going to be George Russell this year, but we will hang on to P2 in the end.
Yes, that's a podium. Excellent drive. The team worked especially hard this weekend, and this is a fantastic reward.
They've done it then. They've won here in Monaco with an emphatic performance and a victory they can be proud of for many years to come. Tell me, Ant, how do you think they were able to deliver such an incredible result today? Here comes your top 3 making their way down to the podium for what can only be described as a fantastic day for Formula One. So then, it's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. That's a positive result for George Russell, who further solidifies his position at the top of the standings. Some amazing talent out on the track today, but Anthony, who would you pick as your driver of the day?
I have to give it to Mr. Monaco. They did a great job at getting the most out of their tyres without losing pace, something that's a very handy skill to have in modern-day Formula One.
Let's move on to the constructors. The current leaders continue to extend their lead at the top. Meanwhile, a strong weekend from Red Bull this time out, and they improve their position in the championship. Well, that was certainly an exciting weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for more exciting Formula One action very soon.
Well, I can't work out whether Anthony Davidson's trying to take the mick there or something, because I certainly didn't feel I deserved fastest lap, driver of the day even, come the end of that one. But it is George Russell who takes home the win here at Monaco. Top 5 exactly where they started. It was just Charles Leclerc, that local boy, got a jump on Bottas there, and everyone else inside the top 10 finished where they began this afternoon. I mean, it is Monaco. It's never going to be the most exciting race in the world, but yeah, I don't know why that one just frustrates me a bit more than they normally would. Championship-wise, though, the gap at the top does open up to 11 points there as Esteban Ocon re-jumps Leclerc in the Drivers' Championship. No other movers, though, by the looks of it, further down the rostrum. Constructors-wise, though, Red Bull and Alpine both jump Ferrari there. That, I feel, is going to be a battle to watch out for throughout a lot of the championship, as McLaren and Mercedes still just 2 points separating them, both struggling at the start of Season 4. But thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed as well, and we will be back very, very soon. Round 9 of the year. We head to Azerbaijan, Baku. Fingers crossed we can start closing up. I do not want George winning 3 races in a row. None of these videos would be possible without the help of our channel members. So a massive thank you to all of the names you see on your screens currently for helping support the channel. You can join them by clicking the join button down below. And yeah, thank you once again to everyone that continues all the insane support on my work.